Hallo zusammen. You know, the good news is that it doesn't matter if you identify as a wizard or as a sorcerer, because today you're a Zauberer. Insert name here. Today we're gonna learn some German with famous, well-known, popular Harry Potter movie quotes. I'm talking about the movies, not necessarily the books here, just for reference. And I'm gonna talk about them from a linguistic point of view, what is interesting to point out for language learners and or people that are interested in the German language in general. And without further ado, let's say Hex Hex! Which doesn't have anything to do with Harry Potter, but with Bibi Blocksberg, who is well known in Germany. A little witch in, audiobooks and everything, and it's, yeah. You know, as someone who was born in the early 90s, the Harry Potter movies are very special to me. As opposed to people that are younger or older, I'm roughly the same age as the protagonists, which means that I also grew up watching the movies along with them and in the way they grew up making the movies, right? And while I really like a lot of movies for different reasons from different directors, such as Christopher Nolan, for instance, or David Fincher, there is something special about these movies, to me, at least. Maybe you can relate, I don't know. Arguably one of the chronologically first famous quotes in the Harry Potter movies comes from someone who delivers quite a few memorable lines throughout all the films. Hagrid! When he arrives at the Lonely Island, the hideout where the Dursleys and Harry fled to in the beginning of the first movie, he kicks the door open, confronts Harry and reveals the big reveal. Du bist ein Zauberer, Harry. You're a wizard, Harry. For der Zauberer, Singular, die Zauberer, Plural, the wizard or sorcerer. And, well, speaking of which, I guess some of you know this, especially when you're a die-hard Harry Potter fan, but to some of you this may be news. The first movie in specific is very unique in its own right, because, in fact, there are actually two different English versions of the book. The original English version is titled Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, whereas the American English version is titled Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Don't know why Americans don't like philosophers, but I guess you could argue that both the author, J.K. Rowling, and the director of the first two movies, Chris Columbus, they could have argued and said, you know what, the British English version is the original, the OG version, so we're gonna just title it The Philosopher's Stone, right? But instead, they went the extra mile, and the actors basically filmed all scenes in which the Philosopher's Stone gets mentioned twice. One time they had to say it according to the British English title, The Philosopher's Stone, and then again they also had to shoot the same scene again with The Sorcerer's Stone, because why not, right? Linguistically, the phrase itself is a direct equivalent of the English one, even down to the sentence structure, which is subject, verb, and then das Prädikatsnomen, meaning the phrase ein Zauberer gives additional information. Who are you? You are a wizard. Du bist ein Zauberer. Du bist ein Zauberer, Harry.
In case you didn't know.
The second quote I want to talk about happens a little bit later in the first movie when Albus Dumbledore confronts Harry Potter in front of the Mirror Nerhegeb, or as you may know it, Erised. It's the mirror, der Spiegel, that shows what we desire. And since it's a mirror, the name of it is also spelled backwards. So it's basically mirrored, you could say, because erased is desire. Magic. Magie! The same stylistic device was used in the German version. What sounds like an ancient Egyptian pharaoh, or maybe a curse, or even both, is the German noun das Begehren, spelled backwards. Nerhegeb. Dumbledore really wants to make sure that young Harry doesn't linger in dreams, but rather lives in the here and now. Es ist nicht gut, wenn wir nur unseren Träumen nachhängen und vergessen zu leben, Harry. It does not do to dwell on dreams, Harry, and forget to live. For der Traum, Singular, die Träume, Plural, the dream. What I really like about the character of Albus Dumbledore and how he's portrayed by the different actors, because there are two of them. The original actor sadly passed away, and then it was Michael Gambon, who also sadly now has passed away, who played Dumbledore for the majority of the movies. Both of them, they speak with authority and dignity and a certain eloquence all at once. And that is a very strong mixture to get some, moral standpoints across, especially for children watching this movie after all, right? He doesn't talk down to Harry like you're a stupid little child or whatever. I'm gonna teach you some morals and whatnot. Honestly, openly, and with compassion, but still with authority, enough authority at least that you gotta listen. When Dumbledore speaks, everyone has to be silent and you're gonna listen to what he has about to say. And I really, really, really dig that. In German, the verb nachhängen is quite unusual, but you totally get what he means by that. Träumen nachhängen means to dwell in dreams, to think about dreams, to keep being in a dream state, constantly more or less, which implies to be drawn to escapism and therefore to neglect real life as a result. In direct comparison, the German phrase is a bit more inclusive and direct though, whereas the English original rather sounds like a general rule and a bit more distant, dare I say. Almost as if it comes from, let's say, a fairy tale, That is because the German phrase features the personal pronoun wir, which is the first person plural personal pronoun we. In a way, Dumbledore basically includes himself in the German version explicitly, whereas he excludes himself in the English version, you could say. Even though he, I guess, is implied in the statement though. Translated literally, the German version means, "It is not good if we only dwell on our dreams and forget to live, Harry." For the third and final quote for today, we're gonna jump to the second movie, but don't you worry, because there's gonna be a follow-up video to this one with even more quotes from the Potter saga, so stay tuned. Anyway, this is a major and really unique one, since it's a written quote this time around. Die Kammer des Schreckens wurde geöffnet. Feinde des Erben, nehmt euch in Acht. The Chamber of Secrets has been opened. Enemies of the air, beware. Rhyme. However, Dumbledore later refers to the written quote also and concludes, Die Kammer des Schreckens ist tatsächlich geöffnet worden. The Chamber of Secrets has indeed been opened. With the German adverb tatsächlich, indeed. I guess nowadays, with big Hollywood productions at least, you would have the German words on the wall instead of the English ones for the German version. That is possible now. Maybe it would have been possible back then, but they didn't do it as much. And that is why German kids, German teens, adults, whoever, they would read the original English stuff that is written on the wall. They would maybe even learn a few English words that they didn't know. Which was the case for me as well, because at the age of 10 or 11, I basically just started to learn English in school around the time. I also learned the term er, der Erbe, singular, die Erben, plural. I didn't know that before. It all has advantages, I guess, at the end of the day. The German subtitles added the German translation though, and here's something for you to learn. Even though I really like the internal rhyme in the second sentence in the English version, er, beware, I also like the saying in the German version. Nehmt euch in Acht. Sich in Acht nehmen could be mistaken by some of you who know about numbers in German. Because yes, the number 8 is Acht in German. As a noun it's die Acht. But here, the term Acht comes from the Old High German word Ata and the Middle High German word Ate. It originally meant attention, care, or consideration. The expression sich in Acht nehmen as a whole originates from Old High German as well. But that doesn't mean that the term itself hasn't survived, because it can be found in many more commonly used terms like die Achtsamkeit, for instance, the mindfulness. It's in there as well. Welcome to the German language. However, if the English title had been translated literally, it would be Die Kammer der Geheimnisse. For das Geheimnis, singular, die Geheimnisse, plural, the secret, whereas both the German movie title and the quote in question feature the term Schreckens, which is a genitive form of der Schrecken, singular, die Schrecken, plural, the horror or terror, the chamber of terror. Well, doesn't sound Harry Potter-like anymore. Maybe not as suitable for children as the Chamber of Secrets. I don't know. So yeah, while the English words truly sound terrifying to English ears, I guess, the German word Schrecken sounds a bit more lush in German though. So it's not as drastic, Don't you worry about the German children watching that movie and maybe being, confused. Like I said before, this is only the first of a few videos about the Harry Potter universe and how you can learn German with it. So stay tuned for more. And if you liked this, which I hope you did, because I sure enjoyed making this, feel free to support the channel by subscribing, liking, sharing. Especially sharing is very important if you want to help a creator these days, to get more exposure. That is highly important, and I'm highly grateful for that from the bottom of my German heart. Thank you very much for doing that in advance. You can also find links to my socials and support options such as Patreon or my channel membership here on YouTube in the video description down below. And with that being said, tschüss und bis zum nächsten Mal. Definitely.